The rapture is upon us. Whether you are ready or not.
Yo.
Today, what people will hear is God revealing his plan
To his people.
to the people of the world.
Yeah.
God took me to see the future and then he brought me
Bring
back.
you back.
And then in heaven, in a throne room, I see Jesus sitting on his throne. And I could hear him very loud and clear. I am coming soon. And to the people who are listening, please pay attention to what I'm going to say. He says to me, on the 23rd and the 24th, 2025, I will come to take my church.
There's a date.
There is a date.
Are there other people who have also said the same thing to confirm what you have said?
Welcome back, folks. I pray you are blessed. There has been much stir on the airwaves concerning the return of Jesus Christ in September 2025. Will this be the time of his return where a mass exodus of Christians takes place, prompting the world into a 7-year tribulation period? We have so much to discuss today, and I encourage you to stick with me throughout this entire video, as you're going to hear a perspective on this topic you've likely never heard anywhere else.
What if an interstellar object whirling through our solar system is actually a nuclear-powered spacecraft sent by aliens to test how humans respond? That's what a noted astrophysicist believes might be the case, and he says an image from the Hubble telescope backs him up. Most scientists agree that the so-called 3-eye atlas is a comet from another solar system. But Harvard scientist Avi Loeb claimed on this show a couple of weeks ago that it could actually be some type of alien technology. Now, that's a controversial opinion all on its own. But he's now going a step further, arguing that the 3-eye atlas could be a nuclear-powered alien spacecraft. Loeb says the Hubble picture appears to show the object emitting its own light. The object also appears to lack something that all comets have in common, and that's a tail. So what is this thing exactly? Well, joining us now is Avi Loeb. He's the head of the Galileo Project, director of Harvard University's Institute for Theory and Computation. He's also the best-selling author of the book Extraterrestrial. Great to have you back on the show. So you now say this is not only an alien spaceship, but it's nuclear-powered? Why are you saying that?
Well, thanks for having me. First, I should say that if the light that we observe from this object is reflection of sunlight, its size needs to be bigger than Manhattan Island, 20 kilometers or so. And there isn't enough rocky material in interstellar space to deliver a rock of that size earlier than 10,000 years from now. So the question is, what is it? And its orbit, the trajectory that it takes, is aligned with the plane of the planets around the sun to within 5 degrees. That's a chance of 1 in 500. And moreover, the timing.
What does that tell you? What does that trajectory tell you?
Well, it indicates that perhaps it was designed by some intelligence.
That's something steering it.
Not necessarily, but the trajectory itself was chosen to be such that this object will pass close to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. The chance of that happening, the timing of its arrival is perfect for that, with a likelihood of 1 in 20,000. And so I'm just saying we should observe it. It doesn't look like it's a random occurrence. The size, the trajectory, the fact that it comes so close to 3 planets in our solar system, and actually it comes closest to the sun on October 29th, when the Earth would be on the other side of the sun. We won't be able to observe it. I'm analyzing right now the best image we have of it. We don't have any evidence for gas around it in the spectrum that was taken, but we do see some fuzz, some halo of scattered light around it in front of it.
We're looking at the image now. What does that tell you, that halo of light around it?
Right. So usually for comets, you see a cometary tail trailing the objects from behind because it's being pushed by the radiation from the sun. The dust particles are pushed to be behind, to lag behind the object. In this case, what we are seeing is a glow in front of the object. And I'm analyzing first. If this is caused by dust, the amount of dust is very little. Over 6 months, the amount of dust that will be ablated from the object to generate this glow is just less than a millimeter thick. So it could be just dirt on a solid surface of such an object. And the question is, what is the nature of this object? Of course, as it gets closer to the sun, we would get a better view of it. And we could use spacecraft like Juno next to Jupiter. I spoke about it with Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. She called me on the phone, and I gave her an update about the object. And she encouraged, in a formal letter, she wrote to the head of NASA, Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, to encouraging NASA to use Juno, which is next to Jupiter, to come close to 3I Atlas when it will get there on March 16th, 2026.
So Juno could gather some data, take some pictures of this thing?
Yes, but also a camera that is next to Mars, because this object will come very close to Mars as well on October 3rd, 2025, and it will be within a distance of 29 million kilometers from Mars. And there is a 0.5 meter camera that is currently used to watch Mars itself, but I encourage the team that operates it to look at 3I Atlas, and they can get a pixel resolution of 30 kilometers around this object, so we can get a better sense of what the nucleus of this object is.
And super quick, Avi, is there any reason to be concerned about this?
Yeah, you never know what kind of intent it has, and I think we should, in the future, have some international organization that decides how to respond to a visitor to our backyard, because that visitor may enter through the front door.
You may be wondering what a potential alien probe has to do with the rapture. Let's consider for a moment that the rapture does occur at the end of September, as prophesied by many, in addition to Brother Joshua. If the object is an alien craft, Loeb warned it could be carrying a probe or even a weapon. He predicted that such an intercept vehicle would reach Earth between November 21st and December 5, 2025. You heard that right. It would reach Earth between November 21st and December 5, 2025. The timeline is based on calculations that 3I/Atlas will pass behind the Sun from Earth's perspective this October, a time he ominously suggested could be used to prepare the attack. Referring to the object as a mothership, he explained that its position would be an efficient way to seed habitable planets with probes. This strategy would allow the devices to intercept the planets while the mothership continues on its journey to the next star. It may come to save us or destroy us. We'd better be ready for both options and check whether all interstellar objects are rocks, said Loeb. But what if the object doesn't come to destroy us, but it rather used as an excuse to explain where all of the Christians went? Is it possible the object's trajectory may intersect with Earth sooner than theorized? One thing's for sure, the rapture will have to be explained, and this interstellar craft may just be the solution the enemy will use to deceive many that are left behind. Let's explore what the Bible says about the Messiah's return and how the events outlined support the September 2025 rapture prophecy. As always, you can find the links to the videos outlined in today's discussion by accessing today's video description.
Would you believe me if I told you that the Jews came up with the same calculation as we did for the start of the end of the world? This is crazy. Check this out. Get out your calculator because we're going to do some math here in a second.
Who understands King Solomon's words in a remarkable way. He says that what King Solomon is actually doing is telling us that all 6,000 years of Jewish history are divided up into 28 seasons.
The scripture that the Rabbi Lawrence is talking about, Ecclesiastes 3, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And then he proceeds to list a time to born, a time to die, which is like the famous one everyone's heard of, right? So if you count the number of times here in Ecclesiastes, it totals 28. Now here's where it gets really interesting. According to rabbinical Jewish sources, the latest year for the Messiah or Mashiach to appear is 6,000 years from creation. So if you take 6,000 years of creation and divide them into 28 seasons, you get 214.285 years for each season. And if you subtract 214 from 6,000, you get 5786, which is actually the upcoming Jewish year according to the Jewish calendar. And guess when that year starts? Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets, in 2025. But here's where it gets really interesting. We have to go back to that season. What is that final season that King Solomon talks about? A time for peace. A time for peace. Interesting. So we're getting ready to enter, or actually have already entered, the time for peace. Now, if we take that fraction and we calculate what day of the year that would have started, you actually get 101 days. And if you subtract 101 days from the beginning of the Jewish New Year of 5786, you get June 13. And on June 13, the 12-day war started. It actually gets more mind-blowing, because if we entered into the time of peace on June 13, we know that in Zechariah 1:11, when the men are sent out to survey the land, to go throughout the earth, they reported back to the Lord that they have gone throughout the earth and found that the whole world was at rest and in peace. So we just entered the time of peace. What happens after that? In Revelation 6, Jesus opens the first of the 7 seals, and we know that in the beginning of the tribulation, the first 4 seals are the 4 horses that were mentioned in Zechariah. So we have the white one, the red one, the black one, and the pale or the green one. This is the beginning of the Great Tribulation. This is the beginning of God's wrath. What happens while they're saying peace and safety? Well, we know from 1 Thessalonians 5:3 that while people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come upon them suddenly as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. That is the rapture. While the Jews have calculated that the Messiah is supposed to come any day now, we have calculated that our Messiah, Jesus Christ, is coming for his bride. And what are the odds that the calculation is the exact same season? We are there, guys. Jesus is coming. Get right with him. Accept him into your heart. If you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, you will be saved.
Regardless of your viewpoint on when exactly the rapture will occur, it's safe to say that Jesus Christ will, in fact, return for his remnant. And I know, nobody knows the day or the hour when Yeshua will return for his church, but we are told to keep watches to the seasons. Let's switch gears a bit, because I have yet another puzzle piece that fits into this prophetic timeline as per Revelation chapter 8, which reads, "And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea, and had life, died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter." Many of you may be familiar with the near-Earth asteroid. Apophis has a low inclination orbit that varies from just outside the orbit of Venus to just outside the orbit of Earth. Although its orbit changes slightly each time it comes close to Earth, at present it comes near Earth once in 7.75 years on average, for times between April 14, 1998, and April 13, 2029. Because of its eccentric orbit, these moments are not evenly spaced and tend to occur between December and April, when Apophis is in the outer portions of its orbit. Why is this important? Well, it's set to come strikingly close to the Earth on April 13, 2029. Is this the wormwood referenced in the book of Revelation? Interestingly, if this star collides with the Earth during the time of Passover 2029, this puts us to the first half of the tribulation period, which means that the rapture would have occurred 3.5 years prior. That means that the rapture would, in fact, be set to occur during September 2025. Let's check out more.
In 2029, an asteroid much larger and far more famous will perform a similar dance with Earth. 99942 Apophis. The asteroid will pass by at a distance of approximately 31,000 kilometers, and that's closer than many of our satellites. Most of the satellites we rely on every day for internet, GPS, and Earth monitoring operate in low Earth orbit, just a few hundred to a couple thousand kilometers above the surface. But there's another class of satellites in geostationary orbit, far higher up, at about 35,786 kilometers. These satellites remain fixed above a single point on the equator and handle everything, from weather forecasting to global communications. Now, 99942 will pass between these two layers, threading the orbital needle, zipping through a region of space where no natural object of this size has ever been observed flying so close to Earth. Unlike artificial satellites that are locked in orbit, Apophis is on a hyperbolic path, moving too fast to be captured. But even then, Earth's gravity will bend its course slightly, like a slingshot, but not enough to pull it in. Based on the possibility of such unpredictable changes, an astrophysicist at the University of Western Ontario believes the odds of the asteroid hitting Earth are slightly higher than previously estimated. Imagine waking up one day to see something larger than the Eiffel Tower hurtling across the sky. Now, if such a giant were ever to strike Earth, the results would be catastrophic. Scientists estimate the energy released from such an impact would exceed 1,000 megatons of TNT. That's enough to obliterate an entire region, with devastation spreading for hundreds of kilometers around the impact site. But thankfully, we're in the clear for now. However, that doesn't mean it's keeping its distance. On April 13, 2029, Apophis will make a close pass. In fact, this encounter will be so close that it could rattle the asteroid's surface, triggering tiny landslides or quakes that subtly changes its composition or reflectivity. With a predicted brightness of magnitude 3.1, Apophis will be visible to the naked eye from many parts of the world, tracing a path across the night sky over several hours. This would offer a glimpse of what the dinosaurs might have seen as the Chicxulub asteroid became visible in the sky. But since in our case the space rock is only zipping past the planet, it will cover a stunning 205 degrees, nearly 2/3 of the sky. However, an astrophysicist at the University of Western Ontario suggests that the odds of the asteroid striking Earth are slightly higher than previously thought. In his study, published in the Planetary Science Journal, Paul Wiegert took a new look at the possibility of a smaller asteroid striking Apophis. What could be the odds, he wondered, of such a strike putting the space rock on a collision course with Earth? He found that an object as small as 0.6 meters across could be big enough to knock the asteroid into a collision course sometime past 2029. He also found that an object just 3.4 meters across could strike with enough force to push Apophis into a collision course with Earth by 2029.
While I caution against date setting for obvious reasons, I do think it's important to highlight this curious series of events. Every day that passes puts us one step closer to meeting our Redeemer, Jesus Christ. Matthew 24 tells us, "But concerning that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and one left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and one left. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. I don't know about you, but I have felt a sense of urgency in my spirit. This world is not how many of us remember. Evil has become more and more prominent. Men have become lovers of selves, boastful, prideful. What's wrong is right and what's right is wrong. Nothing feels normal anymore. What do you think? Do you think it's possible that the rapture will occur this September? Please let me know in your comments below. Always remember, Jesus Christ came willingly in the flesh to die for the sins of the world. He shed blood at Calvary and died on the cross. He resurrected on the third day to go and prepare a place for you, so that where he would be, you may be also. Have you confessed with your mouth your allegiance to Jesus? What are you waiting for? Time is running out and it's time to get our houses in order. Until next time, stay blessed.